because we can praise them by not buying these. They will give it to us for a 25 gallons, $25 a barrel. I know for sure.
Wasn't that wasn't that the reason they created the Department of Energy?
Sure. So
was to get us off of foreign oil.
But if we do not do what's right, Saudi will continue to sell us their oil until they ran out of oil, and then we will run out of money, and then they will come to America, dig our own oil, and sell it for us. So they will continue to make money for us. So we need to do what's right. The sad thing is we are counting on our government to do what's right for us, and we are sheep. Sheep. The Bible always describes people to be sheep. And if you don't know anything about sheep, I grew up in Egypt. I know what sheep is. Sheep are stupid animals. You put a goat in the front, and the goat go to the edge of the cliff, and the sheep follow him. The goat turn around, and the sheep go down from the cliff, and they kill themselves. Sheep are stupid. And I believe it's time for the American people not to be sheep, but to be goats. It's time for us to educate ourselves about Islam. It's time for us to stop the Muslim for getting into our textbooks, to brainwash our children, to give themselves the next 10 years, which that's how much they need. 10 more years. And then it will be too late to save America from Muslims and Islam.
Now, Tina, what sort of headway have you made regarding the issue with Islam being taught in the textbooks?
Where it stands right now, there is an upcoming meeting of 10 appointed committee members, volunteers from the community, January 15th at the school board office from 4 to 7. This meeting is a discussion time between the committee. It is not an open to the public meeting. There is no public comment. There is no public discussion. There's no public input whatsoever. That does concern me. I'm a little upset by that because I feel as a mom that if I have the time to go and commit to this, I don't want just my voice to be heard. I want the parents of thousands of children in Charlotte County to express their concerns. So what we've found out is that they can, at this time, communicate to the facilitator of the committee the information I sent you earlier, hoping we can get that up online. I don't have the email address in front of me, but Donna Dunnicky is the head of she's the facilitator, and anyone who wants to email their concerns should go ahead and email that to her. I would also carbon copy Doug Whitaker and our school board members so they all hear how you feel and what you expect from our public education that we pay for.
Indeed.
Well, before the break, we were talking about these school teachers and their obligation to teach this hogwash of Islam in our textbooks. And I will give every school teacher this advice. I don't want you to stop teaching this propaganda Islam in our textbooks, but I want them to be a faithful teacher to our student. When I say that, I mean they need to get themselves a copy of my Quran. And by the way, any school teacher will call me, we'll send them a free copy for this county. This is my commitment to them. If you're a school teacher and need a free copy of my Quran, I'll be gladly to give it to you. It's going to be an ebook, easy to study, easy to search, piece of cake. And as you teach this hogwash about Islam, I want you to go to the Quran and find any proof, because I promise you, none of all these 40-some books ever quoted a verse from the Quran. They never quote any verses from the Quran or any of the teaching of Muhammad to support their propaganda. They don't, unless it's something simple, have nothing to do with anything. Okay, but I want you to open the Quran, educate yourself, and as you teach these lies to your students, you say, by the way, I searched in the Quran and I could not find anywhere in the Quran, for example, that Allah said women are respected or women are equal to men. But I found other verses which teach the opposite. And then you start opening the Quran and quote all these verses which actually teach the truth about Islam to your student. So you say to the student, I'm sorry, the textbook said women and men are equal, but here in the Quran, Allah said women are stupid. Women are half of men. Women are not intelligent. Man can beat his wife. Man, and go all these verses and open the Quran and teach it to your student. I promise you, if we have done that, and if we will do that, the Muslim will beg us. They will kiss your hands and your feet, teachers, by telling you, please don't teach Islam to your student. They will beg you not teach your, and by the way, not teach Islam to your student. By the way, if we have done this right in the 1970, where there is only 100,000 Muslims in America, if we have done what's right by allowing Muslims to come in America since 1970, and we start ministering to these Muslims and lead them to Christ by teaching them the truth about their Muhammad to be this wicked man, this child molester, sex offender, prophet pretender, womanizer, thief, killer, and every wicked thing as it is written in the Quran and the Hadith. If we have done that 1970, I promise you, there will not be one embassy in all these 57 Muslim countries who can bring one more Muslim family to America, because the Muslim world will not allow their children to come to America. They will do everything they can to stop bringing Muslims to America, because then they will know that they will go to America, they're going to leave Islam, and they become Christian. They may send some of their own people to America to kill the American Muslims who left Islam, become a Christian. This is the honor killing. But besides that, they will not. But sadly, in the last 45 years, we have done nothing but bringing Muslims to America, and now we're allowing them to brainwash our children to lead them to Islam. God help us.
Hi, caller. You're on News Radio 1580.
Morning, Ken.
Hey.
Awesome show this morning.
Thank you.
Get the Bible back in school, prayer back in school, and they want to do the Quran. The Bible can dispute it on its own, you know. And as a Christian, as Christians, we fall short so many times. That, you know, standing up, and, you know, we're taught to, you know, be kind and be gentle, and but we need to get a little more forceful about this, and, you know, really get the word out there.
I agree.
I think the word he's looking for is bold.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that is something that I actually in my prayer life ask for often. And the more you pray for it, the more everything around you disappears, and you are focused, and you are not afraid to speak the truth. So I think for my family, for my children, truth is the end goal for everything. Mm-hmm. If you can't get to the truth, if you don't want to know the truth, you know, just admit that. I don't want to know the truth. Don't tell me anything that's true. Just tell me everything else. I cannot lead my family and educate my children, which is my responsibility, my job as a mom, to educate
Absolutely.
my children. So I cannot continue allowing them to come home with things that are false, misrepresentations, and also bias against what is true, what we know to be true.
But there's another fact, Tina, we have to understand that we as church only have our children in our church building for an hour every week, maybe 2 hours. Moms and dads are super busy, working so hard. Some of you moms and dads who having 2 jobs, you don't even have time to eat a meal with your children. You cannot undo what the school teach our children in 40 hours every week, but this 2-3 hours you're going to spend with them in the church or at home. Therefore, we must make sure that everything is taught to them in our public school is true. We have not learned our first mistake when the church was in silence in the last 35 or 40 years when they start teaching evolution. They did not teach evolution as we see it today. Even evolution evolved in our public schools. It starts small and it got big. It first started as the theories, and then it ended to be science, even though we do not have any evidence that evolution is true.
Yeah, because they still haven't identified the unknown common ancestor. So until that person steps up, it's still a theory.
Not just this, brother. Do you know that scientific? I was just watching the TVs 4 days ago, and they got some scientists, and they're shaking their head. They said, the more we know about science, the more we know there is a creator. It cannot happen by evolution. So, but was he change this? Dr. Gary Parker. He wrote 3 books when he was in college before he became a Christian. His books are still taught today. He could not remove his books because he found out all what he taught in these 3 books is a lie. And he cannot remove these books from college because the college told him when he wrote these books, he was paid, all his research and all his study was paid by the school. So now he is a man who taught 3 books and found out to be a lie, cannot remove it, and they will continue to teach it until he's dead. And after he died. So we need to teach nothing but the truth, because the few hours we have with our children in the church or at home will not fix all the hours and hours they are learning in our public school. We need to do what's right, fight the lies.
We may be in a church for an hour on Sunday, but it's up to us as parents, as home, teaching the Bible. Charles Spurgeon said, hopefully I quote him properly, he says, turn your weekdays into Sundays, turn your house into a temple, and your meals and sacraments, and see Jesus all the time.
Amen. I agree with him. He is absolutely right.
Hey, Mikey, thanks for the call, bud. I got to take a break. We'll be right back, folks, on News Radio 1580 WCCF. News Radio 1580 WCCF. This is Charlotte County Speaks. 10:34 is the time. Phone lines are open for you at 941-206-1580. Toll free 888-441-1580. Thanks for holding, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Ken, this is Dave. Happy New Year. Glad to have you back.
Thanks, sir.
I'd like to ask your guest a couple of questions, and a couple of thoughts. I'm looking at the country of Iran right now. They're following the Nazi rule for the fact that the Grand Mufti of back in the 40s was a devoted Nazi, and he wanted to kill just the Jews back then. But would you say that all Muslims are bad? Because I'm looking at Iran, where they had the uprising against the Ayatollahs, and in Egypt, what's going on. So could you say all Muslims are bad?
Well, my friend, if you are a Muslim, you have to believe in Islam. And if you believe in Islam, you have to pray. And if you pray, you quoted Quran chapter 1 every day, 27 times. And if you quote Quran chapter 1, which is the first chapter of the Quran, sadly, is quoted to our ignorant senators and congressmen in the Senate meetings when they bring the Muslim imam and they clap hand because they do not know what's written in it. You will know that Allah in the Quran called the Jews those whom the wrath of Allah is upon, and Allah calls the Christians the lost one. And if you know the Quran very well, you will know that Muslims are commanded to get rid of all the forbidden things. They must get rid of all the Christians. They must get rid of all the Jews. That is Islam. Islam teaches to kill the Christians and the Jews. How can you be a Muslim and be a good person? How can you be a Muslim and don't practice the Quran? You can't. You can do it both ways. So as the truth says, to be a Muslim is to be equal to a terrorist. And in a little bit here, we're going to be quoting a few verses from the Quran to show you and show all our dear audience that every American should be Islamophobe. Every American, every man or woman with common sense must be afraid of this barbaric cult, the cult of Islam. Go ahead.
Yes, it's true, but what about the people that are uprising against the people in Iran?
There are plenty. Let me give it to you. Muslims are two. Those who are deceived and those who are deceiver. Deceived Muslims, those who have never read the Quran and have no clue what Islam is about. And I promise you, 99.9% of the people in the world are in this category, which means what? Lots of Muslims do not know Islam is a barbaric cult. Because Irani or Turkey, Afghani or Pakistani, Indonesian, I've been into Indonesia twice, 210 million Muslims live in Indonesia, more than all the Arabs. None of these people read the Quran. They cannot read Arabic. When you say Muslim Irani, how much Muslim Irani know about Islam? They know nothing. So these Muslims are deceived. Now deceivers, those whom you see today on Fox News, CARE and ISNA, those whom you see today work in the White House, these are Muslims who know Islam very well, but they pretend to be a loving, peaceful, practicing some of the verses of the Quran, which is Quran 3:28, taqiyya. What is taqiyya? I love you with my tongue, but I have my hand on a bomb or on a knife or a gun, and when the right time comes, I will kill you. I love you with the tongue. That's what Muhammad taught them in the Quran. When they are weak, when they do not have the upper hand, they are nice, they are peaceful, until when they are strong. 10 years from now, you're going to see what's happening in September 11. It will be a drop in a bucket. People will be dying in America in the thousands, 50,000, 60,000 in a stadium or in a mall or in a school or in whatever. So Islam is what